Hello, everybody, and welcome to my webinar tonight on the Spanish Golden Visa. Give me 10 seconds, a couple more people entering the room, and then we will get going. Bear with me 2 secs. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, let's get going then. So, as I say, thank you for joining me on my webinar tonight. And today we're going to be talking about the Spanish Golden Visa, which is a very hot topic at the moment. And it's mainly really for one reason, amongst others, but that's to do with the withdrawal of the Portuguese Golden Visa in its current form. So whether you are aware of this or not, the Portugal Golden Visa has always been one of the most popular routes to EU residency, namely because it was one of the cheapest entry points. So an investment of around 280,000 into property in Portugal could get you a residency, a golden visa, and ultimately could give you citizenship. And that was done through property. But a couple of weeks ago, that has been completely withdrawn, and you can't now get a golden visa in Portugal through property. So there are other routes to do that, and we actually do look at other routes to do that if anyone is looking at Portugal. But it's changed, and because it's changed, it's meant that a lot of people are now looking for alternatives. How to get EU residency, how to get a golden visa. So a lot of people are looking over here to the neighbours of Portugal and looking at Spain. And obviously, not only for those reasons, Spain is a lovely place to live. So my name's Sam Daines. I'm a senior wealth manager here at Holborn Assets. And we're looking at a residency by investment program in Spain. Now, I put on here my contact details. Okay, so you've got there my mobile number, which is a UK number. I am based over here in Spain, but please feel free to contact me, whether that's text or phone call. You've got my mobile there. You've also got my email address there, which is sam.daines@holbornassets.com. So if you have any personal questions for your own situation, because I know this is a very generic overview, then obviously you can contact me directly. You can ask any questions. If you want to have an appointment, you can email me and I can give you a free consultation about your own situation. I've also put in a QR code there, which is my attempt to move with technology. So if you scan that with your mobile phone, it will give you my availability in my diary. Now, I appreciate a lot of people here may be from all around the world. So if you scan that QR code and there isn't availability, please, please, please email me. I can always sort of fit in around times outside of normal hours, because obviously it is very difficult to fit in if you are, say, for example, in America. So use a QR code by all means, but certainly with regards to getting an appointment booked in, it is great to email. I've got somebody here who's raised their hands. Let me have a look at this. Okay, hang on. Okay, well, I'll look at the questions towards the end anyway. So yeah, just to give you a bit of background on myself, as I say, my name's Sam Daines. I actually live here in Spain. So I live in Estepona, which is down the south of Spain. We've got an office here down the road from me, which is about 20 minutes in Porto Banús. And I've lived here for around 6 years. So I worked in the UK in financial services for around 20 years, made the move over here around 6 years ago. And I am now a resident here in Spain. So I've been through the whole process myself. I work here. I spend the majority of my time here in Spain. So certainly have a lot of contacts here for anybody that is looking to move over here. But as I say, today what we're going to do is concentrate on the Spanish Golden Visa. I've got some questions that people asked before the meeting, so we'll sort of address them at the end. But as I say, if there's any personal questions, please feel free to drop me an email or to give me a ring, and I can look at your personal situation now. So with no further ado, let's move on, and we'll look here at the agenda and what we're going to go through today. Okay, so first of all, what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about Holborn Assets. So that's the company that I work for here. And also Holborn Pass, which we come on to. So Hold Assets is, as I say, the company I work for here. We have a division of Hold Assets, which is Hold Pass, which specifically deals with citizenship and residency, which are two very different things, which we will talk about. We'll also look at residency by investment as well. So with regards to getting a golden visa, there's a number of ways you can do it. And there are all different ways that you can invest within Spain in order to get the golden visa. So we'll look at different ways that you can do that. And then we'll look specifically at the Spanish Golden Visa program and what sort of process it involves to do that, what benefits that will actually give you with regards to the Spanish Golden Visa. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at some real estate options. So one of the main routes that people look to achieve the golden visa is through real estate. And as I mentioned before, in Portugal, the real estate option was always the most popular. You can invest around 280,000 into property, and that would qualify you for your residency and ultimately your citizenship in 5 years after that. Now, with regards to Spain, the cheapest, or certainly the most, the cheapest, the most cost-effective way of doing it will be to look at real estate. Now, in terms of Spain, we specifically look at commercial real estate because with commercial real estate, the taxation on it is a lot less than with regards to residential real estate. Depending on what golden visa program we're looking at, depends on what type of property investment we look at. But in this case, we will look particularly at commercial real estate options. And then I can go through some of the questions and answers that have been sent in or any that come across. As I say, please feel free to send anything across to me personally using my email address. It's there at the end of the presentation as well, so you can ask any personal questions there. And you can arrange an appointment if you wish to as well. So if I start off telling you a little bit about Holborn Path and the Holborn Assets. So first and foremost, Holborn Assets, who I work for, are a global wealth management firm. Okay, so this is our main priority. We look at investments for our clients and the best type of investments that are available. Now, we started back in 1998, so it's around 25 years ago now. So we've been going a long time. We're a British family firm, and we've really sort of spread out right from the early days back in 1998. So we now employ over 500 employees all around the world. We've got 20 international offices, and we've got one here in Spain, as I say, which is in Portuguese, which is about 20 minutes down the road from where I am now. And we look after over 20,000 clients. So we've got a really huge client base. So part of what I do as a role here at Holborn Assets, I concentrate very much on people looking for residency by investment. So we're looking at the property options and other ways to actually get your golden visa. But I also do the financial advice for people here in Spain as well. So we can continue to actually offer you free financial advice, look at what tax efficient options for when you're here in Spain as well. So around 6 years ago, as a company, we looked to expand, if you like, and a very popular area that people were looking at was residency and citizenship by investment. So the golden visa programs. Now, with regards to a golden visa program, obviously it requires you to invest money into the country you're looking at, in this case, Spain. But obviously having our knowledge and our experience is to really look at what are the best investments. So investments are our priority when looking at gaining a golden visa. We've actually done over 1,000 applications that we've processed. A lot of these were for Portugal. Obviously now that's gone. The property option is gone. And we've had 100% success rate. So we've got a long track record of a vast amount of people that we've actually put through this process successfully. We actually offer residency and citizenship programs, not just in Spain or Portugal, but we've got St. Lucia, we've got America, we've got Dubai, we've got Greece, and it's actually on one of the slides coming up. So we do a vast array of residency and citizenship programs. But as I say, I talk today around Spain because Spain is becoming one of the most popular options. It's a way you can get your EU residency in a very cost-effective way and also have a lot of benefits through that. Um, on the right-hand side of the slide there, we just to sort of mention, we won numerous industry awards, investment awards. We are rated excellent on Trustpilot as well. So we have the experience behind us to really sort of help people to get their residency and their citizenship. So if I talk about what we do with regards to the golden visas, so what we've looked to do is to provide a service which is a beginning to end service for people looking to obtain the golden visa. So effectively, we are a one-stop shop. So instead of having all the moving parts of trying to get your golden visa, we would do everything for you. So anybody who's interested, we would do the whole process. So what that actually involves, if you break it down, is that we would prepare all the residence permit applications. And I will say at this point, by the way, anybody that's sort of been to Spain or had to deal with the process in Spain or anything to do with paperwork and sorting things out, Spain is very difficult. It's a difficult country to sort of navigate in what you need to do. So a lot of these applications and these permits can be difficult, but we would do all that for you. We review and we submit everything for you as well with regards to the permit applications. We'd advise you with regard to the best real estate opportunities. So we go out there, we look at what are the best investment opportunities that are available. As I say, when it comes to Spain, we very much look at commercial property, which I'll come on to, but the main reason for that is the taxation is a lot less than when you look at residential properties. It was different when we look in Portugal. We tend to look at, we have been looking at residential properties previously, but in Spain, it's a little bit different. Commercial opportunities tend to be the most cost effective, which I will come on to. But we would do all the due diligence on the projects and the developers that are out there to work out what are the best ones and to make sure that they're safe and secure. We negotiate with the property developers to get the best possible prices on these assets, on these residential and commercial properties. And obviously, we use the fact that we are such a big company and that we have the track record that we have, we're able to negotiate very good deals with these property developers. We review all the property records of the selected properties. We make sure everything is in order, so you don't have to do anything like that yourself. We prepare all the sales agreements between the developer and the property owner. So we do all of that. So effectively, you can sit back and relax. We'll also be present at a public deeds office on your behalf. So when you're doing a property transfer, the records transfers, we will be present and we'll be there to help you do that. Part of the process, you have to submit fingerprints and official photographs at government facilities. So we provide the service where we will actually come along and do that with you. And again, from somebody that's gone through that myself with regards to my residency, it's difficult. It was a number of different visits I had to do to get my residency card, and certainly with regards to the language barrier, the process, it can be very bitty. So we will help do all of that. We'll help you open the Spanish bank account as well. You don't necessarily have to, but it is advisable to open a Spanish bank account, but we can help you do that. Get your tax number, so your NIE numbers, which we would do for all applicants. So this is not just the main applicant, it's for anybody that is tagged on to the main applicant's application, if that makes sense. Because as part of the process, you can put on your spouse, you can put on your children, you can put on your parents if they're dependent. So we can do that for everybody. We can assist with a local tax representative. We can get your residence permit approved. We can collect your residency cards and deliver them to you as well. And a really important part of this as well, what we do is we will actually submit all your tax returns for you as well. So for anybody looking at our investment and property opportunities that we have, because we are effectively a one-stop shop, we would do the whole process and we will submit the annual tax returns for all of our clients to make that as easily as possible. And we'll make sure you get your rental income. So obviously, as a part of this, is that we don't want our clients to have to worry about the income from the residents coming in. We will do all that for you. And then eventually, if you want to actually become a citizen, because residency leads to citizenship, which I'll come on to, that you can actually become a citizen. We would do all the applications for that and tell and help you through that whole process. So really, the point in them last two slides is really to tell you that we act as a one-stop shop for anybody looking to get the golden visa in Spain. So let's talk a little bit about citizenship and residency by investment. Okay, so probably at this point, it's some of you may be familiar and some of you may not be familiar with the difference between citizenship and residency. So, with regards to residency, most places will offer residency before you have citizenship. That basically gives you a lot of the rights of a citizen. So, basically, the right to normally live and work in the country. You have the right to certain sort of healthcare, certain benefits, and that's your residency. Citizenship is becoming essentially a passport holder of that country. So that is to have all the rights as if you were born in that country. Normally, what happens is residency, will lead to citizenship after a certain period of time. Normally, with EU countries, that can be anything from 5 years to 10 years, depending on the country. With regards to countries outside of the EU, it can be a lot quicker than that. But obviously, a lot of people watching this would be because you're interested in the EU and in Spain. So residency would normally lead to citizenship. However, a lot of people don't even necessarily want to become a citizen. They'd be quite happy just to be a resident of a country. So that's the sort of difference between residency and citizenship. But in order to get your residency and citizenship, you need to make a contribution to the country's economy. And that can be done in a number of different ways. So, as I've sort of alluded to a lot of this presentation, really, real estate is the main route for most people, not just in Spain, but in most other residency programs. So real estate, so you invest into real estate, and as part of that, you can qualify for your golden visa. There's a minimum amount that is required, but real estate is one of the main routes that people look at. A donation, probably less popular, is you donate to the government. So you will basically hand over a certain amount of money, and that will actually get you your residency. Now, as I say, it doesn't tend to be too popular because it's not an investment option. So people don't tend to look so much down the donation route. However, I'm sure it has been done before. Investing into a business is another option. So you invest into a business. There's a certain set of criteria with that to be aware of as well, though. The business option, you do need, well, as I say, if there's something you're looking at, let me know. But again, there's a number of caveats that you have to do in order to qualify for the business. You can invest into funds as well, which is a lot more money than the real estate option, or government bonds. So another option is you invest in government bonds. As I say, by far, the most popular option is to look at real estate. As I keep sort of saying, the real estate option has gone in Portugal. And it's probably worth pointing out at this point as well, is that the way Portugal and Spain work is quite often they do mirror each other, or they certainly follow each other, obviously being neighbours, being so sort of close. Now, our general thought is, and the sort of noises that have come out from the Spanish government, is that we don't know how long property will be an option for people looking to get the golden visa. It's obviously an option now. We don't know any date that it's going to be withdrawn, or even if it will be withdrawn. But certainly the noises are it may change, and property may in the future, real estate may not be an option. And just to give you a bit of a background behind that, the reason Portugal looked at this and the reason that Spain are likely to look at it is that these programs were designed to bring in funds and bring in money to the country. So some money is being brought in through real estate. The knock-on effect of that, economically, is that it can have an effect on house prices. So with a lot of money coming into a particular country, house prices increase, and therefore it becomes unaffordable for some people to buy real estate, people living in a country. So a government coming into power, or a government that's there already, will obviously look after the people in the country. And they've seen house prices go up, particularly in Portugal. It has done in Spain as well. And as a way of sort of maybe curbing that, they look at removing the real estate option through the Golden Visa. Now, in reality, whether that is actually a reason as to why um, house prices have gone up is a really difficult one to say. I mean, house prices are going up all over Europe, and these aren't places that they have golden visa programs, so it's difficult to say for definite. But that's why we think that potentially, in the future, it may be that that Spain do withdraw the real estate option. So anybody looking at that, be aware that don't leave it too long if you are serious about doing it. So just to reiterate, residency by investment. So that's in exchange for contribution, an investor obtains a residency permit. So it's effectively like a residency card, which gives you the right to live and work in that particular country. So in this case, Spain. The next option, citizenship by investment. So that's the same. In exchange for the contribution, you become a citizen with full rights. So basically a passport holder. But that would normally follow residency after a period of time. Okay, so that's a kind of an overview, if you like, for citizenship and residency by investment. Now, this slide's a bit of a busy slide, but it's just trying to, well, first of all, these are the programs that we actually do as a company. So they're not just for Spain. We do it for all these different countries here. So we got Antigua, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Malta, Turkey, Portugal, Greece, Spain, USA. So this sort of breaks down all these different programs that are available and the different benefits that each one gives. And there are a number of different benefits depending on the program. So if I have a look at the top here, so the left-hand side here these are citizenship programs. So these are programs where you will get your citizenship pretty quickly. So you become a passport holder very quickly. And as you can see, these countries here are countries outside of the EU. So as I say, you've got Antigua, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Vanuatu, Malta, and Turkey. And here along the top line tells you how quickly you will become a citizen of that country once you've made the investments. And below here, it tells you the investments that you need to make. But as I say, we're not looking at programs outside of the EU. We're looking at the EU programs. So on the right-hand side here, these are EU programs that we look at. Now, as I say, Portugal has always been the most popular. And the reason for that is the entry point was 280,000 into property, and that would get you a golden visa. And actually, after only 5 years, you could qualify for your passport. So that's actually a relatively short amount of time for people looking to become a citizen of the country. As I say, that's been withdrawn in its current form. There are options around Portugal, but they're slightly different now. Now, we're looking here at Spain. Now, Spain's time to citizenship is actually 10 years, which is relatively long compared to some of the other countries. However, as I mentioned before, a lot of people won't necessarily want to become a citizen. It doesn't necessarily give you too many more rights than being a resident, but some people obviously do. Now, in certain situations, people can become a citizen after as little as 2 years. So not 10 years, you can do it for as little as 2 years, but that very much depends on essentially where you're from. So if you are an ex-Spanish colony, so for example, Mexican, then you will essentially be able to get your citizenship within 2 years. And there's a list of countries which is on a slide coming up, which you'll know. And if you are from one of those countries, it really is a fantastic scheme because you can get your citizenship quickly. And that's not just for the main applicant, that is also for the people on the application as well. So only needs one of you to have the ex-Spanish colony connection. So with regards to the minimum amount to invest in property in Spain, it's 500,000. Okay, so it's about average really for an EU scheme. However, we have an option where we can actually get your golden visa for as little as 350,000. We basically put together a very unique investment package, which I'll come on to explain, which allows people to invest as little as 350,000 in order to get their golden visa. And we do that by looking at commercial assets and actually paying rental income up front to people investing. So instead of actually having the income paid over a number of years, you hold the investment, it's actually paid up front. So 150,000 is paid up front, which I'll come on to. There's a fantastic and a very unique scheme that we offer, and that is designed for people that have less than the 500,000 and it allows them to do it for a lower amount of money. But also, obviously, we have plenty of options at 500,000, really good commercial options as well, where in itself, as I mentioned before, these are really good investments, but also as part of that, you're getting your EU residency as well. I won't go through all these bits here because we're going to come on to that anyway in some of the slides coming up. But as I say, needless to say, Spain is particularly good on being able to tag in your children. You can actually put in dependent parents if they're over 65 as well. So yeah, you've got your spouse, children, dependent parents. Which is all really really good, and the physical time you have to stay in Spain, which I'll come on to, is very unique and incredibly good. So you really don't have to spend much time in Spain or any time in Spain at all once you have that holding asset, which I'll come on to, which is a very unique offering that you have with the Spanish Golden Visa. So if we talk a little bit about why Spain, I'd imagine a lot of people are here because you have a connection with Spain and you've been to Spain. Now, I can talk from my own experience. I've lived here for 6 years and it is a fantastic place to live. The culture here and the people are brilliant. The lifestyle is a lot more laid back. I come from the UK. It's a very hectic lifestyle. Here it's a lot more laid back. The saying "mañana, mañana," later, later, is very much true when you're here, and it really is a nice lifestyle. Obviously, you have the weather here as well, so the quality of life is fantastic, and it's actually ranked first country worldwide for quality of life. So it's a brilliant country to live in as well. It's also the second most visited country by international tourists. Probably comes as no surprise. I think a lot of people have had holidays here from all around the world, doesn't matter where you're from. Part of that is obviously to do with the weather. You're pretty much certainly down the south of Spain, guaranteed lovely weather, all year round. It's got the fourth biggest economy in the EU and the 14th largest in the world. So anybody looking to move here and work, then obviously you've got a very strong economy here. It's particularly, I mean, I know obviously from here with regards to the jobs available, it's really expanding now. Obviously, the whole of Europe, particularly a number of years ago, went through a little bit of a recession. But certainly looking at Spain now, you can really sort of see it's going stronger and stronger. So it's a very big economy you've got here as well. It's ranked the fifth best country in the world to live in. It's the sixth best retirement destination. It's voted on the 2023 annual Global Retirement Index. And it's got the seventh best public healthcare system. And, I've used a healthcare system here before. My partner, her parents have used a healthcare system because they're living over here and they're retired, and it is a really really strong healthcare system, very very strong indeed. So that gives you reassurance when you're here as well. So as I say, why Spain? I think it's very obvious if you've been here. Certainly for me, living here, it's a fantastic country to settle down and live in. So talking about the Spanish Golden Visa specifically. So this started back in 2013. So it started a long time ago now. So what we're talking about 10 years ago, it started. And since then, there's been over 9,000 applications that have been approved. So there's a lot that's been approved. And there's over 3.5 billion that's been raised in foreign direct investment. So this links in with what I was speaking about earlier. We've got to be mindful of this because a lot of money has been pumped into the economy, but obviously money being pumped into the economy can have an effect on things such as house prices, amongst other things. So, you need to be aware of that. Now, the other thing about the Spanish Golden Visa, which I touched upon before, is you don't need to spend time in Spain. And where this is really a real key point to consider on this is that if you are looking to, say, move to Spain in 2 or 3 years' time, and you're worried about, say, the Golden Visa program being withdrawn in terms of property or even in any other form, you can actually look to do something now, and you're going to hold an asset here. And by holding the asset, you get all the rights as if you were resident. You can come and go as you please. You don't have any of that 90 and 180-day rule. You're visa-free travel. but you don't need to actually physically be here in Spain, and you would still have your residency, you'd still have your golden visa. And that makes it a very unique scheme compared to a lot of the other the EU residency golden visa schemes that are there. So it's a really strong point about this. So anybody looking to do it, be very mindful of that as well. And any non-EU citizen can apply. Anybody can apply, basically, as long as you don't have a criminal record. And as I said before, on your application, you can include your spouse, your children, and your parents if they're over 65. Now, part of what we do as well is that when you're going to go through the process of applying for a golden visa, you really need to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. So when you're trying to tag on, for example, a parent, a dependent parent, there's a lot you need to do to prove that they are dependent, and lots of paperwork that will go along with that. And we help you do all of that. We've had all the experience to know what you need to show and what you need to prove in order to do that. And as I say, anybody using us, we would do the whole process for them. Right, the benefits of the Spanish Golden Visa, if you don't already know, is it gives you the right to live and work here in Spain. So you can live here, you can come and go as you please, and you can work here in Spain in any capacity that you want to. Not only that, you can freely travel and stay within all of the 26 Schengen countries. So there's none of these rules, there's no visas that you need to complete, there's no minimum amount of time or maximum amount of time that you're allowed to stay. So as I say, Portugal from where I live here is about 4 hour drive, 3.5 hour drive, and you can literally drive across the border. You can stay there for as long as you want. You can come back here. You can go over to France. There's none of the hassle in moving around, and that is really what such an important part of the Spanish Golden Visa. You can actually establish a business in any of the Schengen countries as well. So that's you not working but establishing a business, which you're able to do. You get a tax exemption for expats. Now, I won't go too much into this, but needless to say, we do provide financial advice if you're moving to Spain as well. And it's going to depend on whether you're resident or tax resident. And again, without going into too much detail about this, you can become a resident of Spain by having a golden visa. That makes you a resident of Spain, so you have all the residency rights. But you don't necessarily have to be a tax resident if you are not living here for more than half the year. So you can be a resident and not a tax resident. So again, this goes back to people that maybe want to have the golden visa for Spain, but don't necessarily want to be living here. You wouldn't then be a tax resident in Spain. So again, we can look at your financial situation when you move over here, but that's just something to be aware of. And also you get access to the world-class healthcare that are here as well. As I say, it's ranked 7th globally. And the pensions here are ranked 13th as well. So it's a really good structure here in terms of the healthcare, the pension system, and with regards to the benefits you get with the Golden Visa. Now, put a slide in here, and this is only because we get a lot of questions in with regards to what you get with the Spanish Golden Visa, and people say they ask a lot of questions, and it's the same questions that seem to come up. So we'll put a slide in here really to look at what is the myth and what is the facts about what people believe about the Spanish Golden Visa. And the first one is you have to spend time in Spain to maintain residency. And that's not true at all. No, there is no visit nor minimum stay requirements. Okay, so you can get your holding asset here to get you the Golden Visa. And for example, if that's a commercial property or type of investment property, you can get an income from that property, but you don't need to be living here. You don't need to be here at all, but that would give you your golden visa. There's no minimum stay requirements. Only residential real estate qualifies. That's not true. Any type of real estate, whether that's commercial, as I keep mentioned before, residential, or even parking spaces or something like that, as long as it's real estate, it's classed as real estate, then it qualifies. Okay, so it doesn't have to be one particular type. Next one, you must buy one property of at least 500,000. No, not at all. You can invest it in as many properties as you like, as long as it makes up for the 500,000. Be very aware as well, if you already hold property in Spain, that can qualify towards your golden visa, but it depends on when it was bought. And if it was bought before 2013, again, contact me if you want more specific details. It won't qualify. So it has to be since really the golden visa scheme was introduced. So that's a real key factor if you hold property already. But obviously, if you then sell that property and buy another property, then that new property would qualify. There are limitations of where you can invest. No, there's no limitations. You can invest anywhere in Spain, and that includes the Balearic and the Canary Islands as well. So they're very flexible, really, on where you invest. When it comes to commercial assets as well that we look at, we tend to look at Barcelona and Madrid, and that is because of the preferential tax treatment and also the way Spain works with regards to taxes, it depends on where you are as to what the taxation you get is. It makes it even more complicated over here. We particularly look at, as I say, Madrid and Barcelona because there are really good commercial opportunities there, and also the taxation is really beneficial as well. The process is long and vague. No, it's actually the fastest process amongst all the EU programs. So once you've actually got your holding assets, whether that's your property or your commercial property, once you've actually got that, you can actually have your residency issued within 21 days of submission. And bear in mind, that's the Spanish 21 days. So if there's a public holiday or certain times of year, it might take a little bit longer, but give or take, you are 21 days of submission is what you quote to get your residency card, which we would do for you anyway. So it's the fastest process. People sometimes ask at this point as well about the whole process from start to finish if they are looking to, say, do a residential commercial property, and let's say it's for ourselves. We can normally get the property done within 2 months, depending on how quickly we can get everything back, just giving you a rough ballpark figure. But then, as I say, the residency can then be done within 21 days. Realistically, within 3 months, you can be done and dusted. But again, it depends on personal situations, but just to sort of give you an idea. But yeah, that's the quickest really you're going to get on any EU program. Next one, the Spanish program is expensive, not at all. Aside from the actual investment itself, the additional costs are minimal. So for example, there the TIE 73 euros and the renewal. So initially you get 3 years and then you renew for 5 years, then you renew for 5 years. But these renewals are very, very cheap. They're really not expensive. Some of the other EU programs out there, they can be incredibly expensive. So not the case with Spain at all. It's really, really cheap in terms of the renewal. So once you've got that initial investment, it's really, really cost effective. Next one, you have to live in Spain for 10 years to qualify for citizenship. Not at all. If you are a former colony, which I believe is on the next slide, we'll show you, you can actually get your citizenship within 2 years, which makes it the best scheme out there, hands down, if you are looking for EU residency. But for anybody else, 10 years is the amount you have to wait. But I will keep reiterating, becoming a citizen is not necessarily what everyone wants to do anyway. If, as I mentioned on the previous slide, what that gives you is all that you want, i.e. being able to travel visa-free around the 26 Schengen countries, having the access to the healthcare, being able to work and live, not having any restrictions on stay. If that is enough for you, then you don't necessarily need to change that to citizenship anyway. The Spanish passport. So this is the citizenship route. So you can do it after 2 years, sorry. So not 10 years, after 2 years, if you are an ex-colony, from an ex-colony. So to read these out, so that's Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, the Philippines, Uruguay, and Venezuela. In addition is Andorra and Portugal, but obviously you'd be unlikely to want to do that if you've got a Portugal passport already. There might be 1 or 2 that's left off there. So if you're unsure about any other place, please just drop me a line and obviously I can let you know. But if you or your partner on the application is from any of them countries, it really is a very good scheme because you could be having your Spanish passport, which is a really strong passport within only 2 years. To get your passports, whether that's in the 2 years or the 10 years, you have to do a basic language level test, which is the same with most EU programs. You have to do a cultural exam. The likelihood is you having lived here or been here for that amount of time, it really wouldn't be difficult, but be mindful of that. And if you are a ex-Spanish colony, you have to live in Spain for 2 years. So you would have to spend over 6 months a year in Spain for the 2 years in order to then change that to a passport. If you are not an ex-Spanish colony, you have to live for the last 5 years to then change it over to citizenship. So again, this is something for the future, but be mindful of that. And by I say live here, it's spending more than 6 months, but effectively being tax resident in the country. It's ranked third best passport in the world. So what that actually gives you is incredible on the Spanish passport. And you can actually travel to 190 countries around the world visa free. So a really strong passport. And as I say, ex-Spanish colonies really is one to look out for if you're watching this. And you can live and work anywhere in the EU. So not just Spain, you can actually live and work wherever you want to. So it gives you tremendous flexibility. So here's breaking down the investment options that we spoke about before. Okay, so there's a number of different investment options you can do. The most popular is real estate, and real estate is a minimum of 500,000. As I said before, we've introduced a scheme which I'll come on to where you can do it for as little as 350,000, and that is to help people that have maybe don't want to spend that 500,000. 500,000 is still a great option because there's really good investments out there. But 350,000 option is to help people who have a smaller amount of money and are looking to do this sooner rather than later. The other options is you can do equity in a business, but that's 1 million euros, so that's double the amount. You can put money in a deposit account or an investment fund, but again has to be 1 million euros. Or probably the least popular option is government bonds, where it's 2 million. So again, not so popular. Real estate is good because again, when it comes to investments, looking at people's investments, real estate is a really good, diversification to have in a portfolio. Holding property, whether that's commercial or residential, is a really good investment option anyway as part of your investment portfolio. So real estate again is really popular. So to break down the options that we have, so to give you an idea of what we would look at for people and for anybody sort of watching this that may be interested, there are 3 different things we can do for people who are interested, okay? But I want to just sort of break this down on this slide and what this means. So on the right-hand side here is looking at just a traditional residential investment, so potentially a second home. The minimum you'd have to pay is 500,000 euros. And your average rental yield, if you were renting it out in Spain, when you're looking at the costs and everything that's associated with it, would be 2 to 3%. So it's not a great investment yield here for residential property. Now, the other options that we look at are the more popular options for Spain are commercial options. So on the left-hand side there, you've got commercial asset. Okay, so that's a 500,000 option. Now, the reason we look at this is that there are lower transfer taxes. So when you come to buy a commercial asset in Spain, okay, for the 500,000, because of the transfer taxes being lower, the residential taxes being lower, it's up to 40,000 euros cheaper than if you did a residential investment. So firstly, you're saving yourself 40,000 by looking at a commercial option. You also have longer term leases, and the tenants in a commercial property will pay most expensive, will cover most expensive. So the ongoing costs of a commercial asset are a lot cheaper. The taxes are a lot cheaper. And the average rental yield is normally around 5%, 4 to 5%, can be over that as well. So the rental yield is almost double of what you're getting on a residential property. Now, what we do with that is we do the full service. So we actually manage the asset for you. So you don't even get involved in any of that side of things. So that's including completing tax returns, just managing the investment, getting the income in, paying you the income. We do all of that. So because the rental return is double, you can actually use that rental income from the commercial property to actually live in a far better residential property. Because what you've got to remember when people move over to Spain, a lot of people think, well, I'll move to Spain. You'll spend 500,000 on your residential property. And that'll qualify me for my golden visa. The only problem with that is when you move to a country such as Spain, say similar to myself, quite often where you first come to isn't actually where you ultimately end up staying. You'll probably find that there will be another part of Spain or another area that you want to live in. So if you come straight over and buy somewhere, you have all the tax associated with buying that property. But ultimately, if you decide then you want to move, you've got to sell that property, pay the fees associated with selling, and then buy again, and then pay the taxes on the new property as well. So quite often, the commercial asset is a really good way of doing it because you've got an asset there that's then paying you a rental yield. You can use that to rent a property to actually find your feet, work out where you want to be. And then once you've done that, you can essentially sell your commercial asset and then use that money to buy your residential asset, thus saving yourself a lot of taxation on the way. Um, so we effectively here at the bottom, we call it a compliance asset. So it's fully managed. You don't really get involved in anything to do with it. As I keep saying, the tax returns, everything is done for you. But this is a compliance asset. This will give you a passive income, plus it will give you the golden visa. But what we've also done is introduced a 350,000 option. And just to give you a brief idea of how that works, it's to give people an easier and a cheaper route in. So effectively, somebody looking to do this will pay 350,000 euros on the commercial asset. We will then pay 150,000 euros upfront, which is effectively the equivalent of 3% per annum rental income paid up front, which amounts to the 150,000. And we will manage the property again for 10 years as part of that. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. We're paying that money up front. That gets you to the 500,000. And it's probably explained better on the next slide, which is an example of it. Again, if you want more of a breakdown, we can do more of a one-to-one discussion. It's all very free, but just go through how that works for you. But again, when we're looking at residential property and commercial property, the last sort of point to make on this is it's a rational investment decision versus residential. Residential tends to be more emotional. I want to buy something, I want to live in it. Just be mindful of what is the best investment opportunity, and it would tend to be commercial in this as well. So just talking a little bit about the 350 leaseback option. Okay, so the way it would work is that, as I say, 500,000 investment is what the investment will be worth, and that would be an investment property in Barcelona or Madrid. The 150,000, which is the equivalent to the 3% paid up front for the 10 years, it's immediately paid, which means the total investment you pay is 350,000 euros plus the taxes and legal costs, which we break down for you. But essentially, it's the 350,000 you'd be paying. And your Spanish residency golden visa processed within 60 days after documents are submitted. So we're normally looking 2 months to get everything through, and then we would apply for the golden visa. The type of units we look at are could be catering, retail, office apartments. And as I say, Barcelona and Madrid would tend to be where we look at. As I say, there's lower taxes in these areas and better investment opportunities as well. The way the leaseback option works, and again, we can go in more detail with this if it is something you want to look at. What we've introduced is if you have this option, after 10 years, we will actually give you a guaranteed buyback for the money. So the 350,000 you would get guaranteed at the end of 10 years. If you hold on to the asset, you would get that money returned. Now, realistically, at the end of the 10 years, if you still held the asset, you'd probably be better to sell it on the open market because you'd get far more likelihood money for actually holding that asset for 10 years. But it gives you a bit of peace of mind. If there was some disaster with property prices, you're guaranteed to get your money back. So you can either exercise that after 10 years, but yeah, option 2 is you sell it on the open market at a going rate. So we would organise all that for you. So we would sell it on the open market at a going rate, or you simply maintain ownership of the asset and you would continue to collect the rent from that asset. So if it's a good commercial opportunity, you may well want to keep that for that period of time. So that's your route after 10 years. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to hold it for 10 years. I'd want to get out before. So you can do. So essentially from year 3, that's when you can actually sell it on the open market and we'd sell it for you. Okay, so we would look at the open market after 3 years. But this is where it would be a bit more complicated. Again, we can go into more detail about your individual situation and when you think your exit strategy would be, because it'd be different for everyone. But after 3 years, we would facilitate a sale if you wanted to. But what we'd have to factor into that, obviously, is that someone that's invested the 300,000 has been effectively paid 150,000 up front to give you the 500,000. If you're going to sell it in year 3 or 4, then obviously there needs to be some way of doing it that the money's paid back that's been fronted to you. So we would effectively look at it in individual circumstance and individual situation to make sure that it was done. So any profit would be shared, but obviously we would look at what you've been paid up front. And so it would be very individual, and that's why we can't really give any specifics about that. But basically the option is there that you can exit after 3 years or past that. On the right-hand side here, this is, I mean, again, I don't particularly think you people would use this anyway, but basically there's a guaranteed buyback in year 5, 6, and 7 of these amounts on the right-hand side: 175,000, 210, 245,000. In reality, you wouldn't exercise that because you get far more on the open market anyway. But it's just a way of sort of, I suppose, helping people alleviate some risk. But certainly after year 10, you get the guaranteed your money back that you've invested. Again, this is quite a complex thing that we've put together to make sure that it ticks all the boxes that you need to with the authorities here. So, again, it's probably best for a one-on-one discussion if you want to look at this, and we can break down everything for you. We've got a specific team here in Spain, a lady called Krista that deals with Spain. She's an expert in everything to do with the Spanish Golden Visa in individual situations. So we could sit down and actually look at how that would work for individuals. But that's the sort of rough guideline of how it would work. In terms of other options, you would still have the 500,000 option. It's frozen now. I won't move to the next slide, but I'll sort of talk you through anyway. The 500,000 options are available. There are a number of options available. Oh, here you go. So it's working there. So this is an example of the type of options that people might want to do if you don't want to do the 350,000. Because what you've got to look at it with the 350,000 option, you are be given your rental income up front. So you're having it up front. And that is giving you the Golden Visa. But obviously, if you have 500,000, or more than 500,000, there are commercial opportunities then that will then pay you that income on an ongoing basis. And this is an example of one in Madrid. So this is a cafe in Madrid, restaurant. 600,000 is particular one, but obviously there's ones for 500,000. It's just an example. The rent was 3,050 per month. That's all collected on your behalf. It's all done on your behalf, managed on your behalf, paid for you on your behalf, and the tax returns are all done for you as well. So this is an example of one that we've done. The way it would work, if it's something anybody's interested in, we have a list of all the available properties that we have on file, commercial properties, and we would go through them with you. We would do a breakdown of all the costs, what the rental income would be. So you have a 350,000 option, you have a 500,000 option. 350,000 option is really there to facilitate people doing it for less money, but you've got to accept you're being paid 150,000 up front. So if you're going to exit earlier, then we would need to structure that in a way of working out how that's done to pay back what you've been paid up front. But then obviously you've got the appreciation of the property over that period of time. So we would look at that on an individual basis. And the 500,000 option, which is a way of actually having a passive income being paid and qualifying for your Golden Visa. So either way would qualify you for your Golden Visa. So that's kind of an overview of the Spanish Golden Visa. And there's a few questions I've got here. I'm just looking at the time. Yeah, I've got too long here because we're sort of coming to the end. Please, anybody, I know people are going to ask questions. Please just drop me an email. Put an email there, and you've got my email, sam.danes@holbornassets.com. By all means, book in a chat with me as well. If you contact me, we can have a chat through. The questions I had come in for earlier, just to run through these now. Okay, how can citizenship be made quicker? Well, it can't. It depends on where you're from. So you can do it within 2 years, but you'd have to be the ex-Spanish colony. So as we mentioned before, otherwise it would have to be 10 years. That's the only way you can do it. But as I say, if you do it within 2 years, that includes everybody. That includes the spouse on the application as well, and the people on the application. So you can all get that visa within the 2 years. Is 350 pay one lump sum, or can I do it in smaller monthly payments? No, the 350,000 would have to be a lump sum, and there would be a tax on that you'd have to pay, and solicitors' fees. Obviously we get them as cheap as we can, but obviously it seems to any purchase that would be involved. But give or take, you're looking at the 350,000 mark. Is there a penalty if I sell the property before the 10 years? Okay. And what about the advanced rental payments? Okay. So that's as I discussed before. So there's not a penalty as such, but obviously with 150,000 up front, we would then do the exit strategy from year three onwards. Because you wouldn't want to exit before that anyway, because you would want to hold it for that period of time, to then get your renewal after the 3 years. So no one would want to do it before 3 years. After 3 years, there's an exit strategy, and that would depend on the amount of time that you've held it for, then the value of what the commercial asset was at the time, the amount that you'd been paid, and then we would package that together. As I say, we can go through that in more detail if you want to look at that. If I buy a property for 500,000, does my spouse also get the gold visa? Yes, absolutely. There's been people that spoke about this before. Essentially, with a property investment, you would do it in the joint names. Yes, they would absolutely get the golden visa, and it's not two separate 500,000. It's one that can be done between the two of you. So it makes it a really good scheme for that point of view as well. There's a question there about Americans. It apply as normal. Everything's the same wherever you're from. A lot of the applications we have are actually from America. Very popular Spain with the Americans as well. But I'll leave it like that now because I'm conscious we're just coming on to the hour mark. As I say, please use the QR code. If there's not availability there, because I know the diary does get booked out, but I can do out of hours calls. It's all free consultations. You've got my telephone number there. You've also got my email address there. So please feel free to drop me a line. We can book in a chat or just ask me some questions. I'll try to keep people updated with the Spanish Golden Visa by doing the regular webinars. As I say, if you have a look at my YouTube channel, I've got a YouTube channel. If you search my name and Golden Visas, there's a number of other presentations I've done. Even looked at the Portuguese Golden Visa as well. If people want to compare. There's a bit of a presentation on there, so have a look at that. And as I say, I'm happy to do any individual appointments with people free of charge as well. So I hope that's helped. And thank you for joining. Any questions, please let me know. And I'm more than happy to chat to anyone. So I hope that's helped people, and hopefully we can help you move over here, if that's what you're looking to do.